It's written in some slabs of ancient Sumerian text that our creators came from a yet-to-be-discovered planet that enters our solar system every 3,600 years. This planet, that is said to be several times larger than Earth, is believed to be looming on the outskirts of our solar system. It's there, in the outskirts, that it moves silently, waiting for the right time to move closer to our home, Earth. Every year it gets closer, and closer, and eventually, this massive planet will collide with Earth, and ultimately, end humanity / life as we know it. This celestial body is feared by many, and is known as Planet X to some, but to the vast majority, this dangerous Goliath is known as the Earth Killer, otherwise known as Nibiru. To start things off, I think it is fair to say that this is a bit of an odd urban legend. It's not your typical ghost, demon, killer, or generic myth, but rather, it's a planet. It's odd for sure, but it is honestly no different than most urban legends out there. By that, I mean there is no definitive evidence proving it to be true or false. And since we're comparing this urban legend to others, I feel it is only right to say that, although this urban legend isn't scary in your typical sense like other legends, it is frightening in its own right. So, without further ado, let's start with the actual legend. Nibiru has several variations and versions of its tale, like most urban legends do. That being the case, we'll just cover the version that is most commonly agreed upon. That being the version of linguist Zecharia Sitchin's controversial 1976 book, The 12th Planet. It is in his book that Sitchin claimed that Nibiru is home to an alien species known as the Anunnaki. These beings, who some actually refer to as the Creators, are actually the same beings known as the Nephilim in the Bible, or so says Sitchin. He also claimed that these extraterrestrial beings came to Earth in search of gold and other minerals. However, these aliens were a bit lazy, and decided to infuse their DNA with ancestral human DNA to create the very first humans. It's actually this claim that forms the basis of many ancient astronaut theories that claim aliens visited the Earth and changed the path of human history, says George Harrison when discussing Sitchin's book. Furthermore, Sitchin also claimed that Nibiru's orbit takes a lot longer than most, clocking in at about 3,600 years. To be frank, the legend of Nibiru isn't all that scary. It's more intriguing if nothing else. That being said, what really is scary, or at the very least somewhat unnerving, are the conspiracy theories that follow the legend of Nibiru. As a side note, since Sitchin's publication of his book, conspiracy theories regarding Nibiru would form rapidly. In fact, there are actually a lot of theories regarding Nibiru. So I suppose we'll start with the most well-known one. That being that Nibiru is eventually going to eradicate Earth as the two planets collide or approach one another. This major conspiracy would actually first be discussed in 1995, when a woman, Nancy Leiter, claiming to have been abducted by aliens, stated that Nibiru would approach Earth in 2003. She insinuated that once the two planets were close enough, Nibiru would throw Earth off its natural axis, causing it to stop spinning for 5.9 terrestrial days. This sudden stop would eventually force the Earth's south and north poles to shift, which would then shift all the tectonic plates in the Earth, splitting the planet in two. Leiter even pushed the idea that people should put their animals down, so that they wouldn't have to go through all that suffering. But as you know, and luckily for us, the world did not end in 2003. Even still, that did not stop people from believing that Nibiru would eventually collide with Earth. In fact, the next estimated year that Nibiru was supposed to collide with Earth was in 2012. Specifically, on December 21st, 2012. I'm sure you all remember that. The Mayan calendar supposedly predicted the end of days on December 21st, 2012. But of course, we're all still here. Anyway, people believe that this date would be the end of life as we knew it, and some assume that a crash collision with Nibiru itself would wipe out humanity. But as I stated earlier, that did not happen. With 2 end-of-the-world scenarios being debunked, you'd think that that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. A Christian conspiracy theorist by the name of David Meade convinced many people that the Earth would be destroyed by Nibiru on September 23rd, 2017. That didn't happen, so he then claimed it would end on October 15th of that same year, and then proceeded to claim it would end on November 20th, again of that same year. He's repeatedly warned about this coming end of days at the hands of Planet X, but seemingly, after being wrong so many times, he now claims that people simply misinterpreted his prophecy. He now claims that Nibiru did appear in 2017 on October 15th, but that instead of colliding with Earth, it would be a sign of a coming apocalyptic war involving nuclear warfare. His claims go even further as he proclaims that the end of the world will in fact be on the 23rd of a certain month within the next 7 years. Although, unlike his many false claims, this one may actually have some kind of merit to it, as many people, in fact a pretty good portion of the population, actually believe that codes in the Bible and a date marker on the Pyramid of Giza in Egypt pinpoint the 23rd as the day of reckoning, examines George Harrison. So, time to answer the question most people want answered. Is it real? Well, yes and no. In the end, this theory of Planet X crashing into Earth is extremely unlikely, and NASA even weighed in, saying that the whole Planet X theory is nothing more than a ludicrous hoax. That being said, NASA, with their modeling, also said that the possibility of Nibiru, that is a 9th planet in our solar system, is very likely, although they aren't sure yet. This 9th planet would apparently be 10 times the mass of Earth, and would take 10,000 to 20,000 years to complete one orbit around the Sun. It's here I should probably say that many theorists were quick to jump on the opportunity to claim that this 9th planet is obviously the Planet X they've been warning us about. To which NASA only retorted with, "It's a bunch of nonsense," when referring to the apocalyptic theory. Although they do admit a 9th planet, perhaps a harmless Planet X, could in fact be orbiting on the outskirts of our solar system. In short, there's a possibility of another planet out there, but there is practically no chance of it ever coming into contact with Earth. Really, that's the gist of the whole Planet X, Planet 9, Nibiru, whatever you'd like to call it. Like I said before, this isn't your typical urban legend. Now that I think about it, looking back at it, the urban legend of Nibiru isn't really all that scary. No, not really. That's not what sends chills through my body. What really scares me is the concept. I mean, think about it. A planet that crushes our own. The thought is, well, unnerving, for lack of a better word. The notion of the world ending while I'm still alive is scary. Hell, the notion of the world ending in general is horrifying. But what I think is the most terrifying about this concept of a planet-eating planet, I suppose, is that it may cut the life short of my 2 brothers, my family, and my friends. That thought is honestly extremely chilling to me. Well, that's that. Time to cut this video here and leave you with this little factoid. Did you know, the sun will implode on itself and then explode in 4 to 5 billion years. An event that will be strong enough to basically wipe out the entire solar system. That being said, it doesn't mean the Earth may not end sooner. And if you haven't already seen it, I actually have a video on my channel explaining how the world could theoretically end tomorrow. Go watch it, and drop a like on this video if you haven't already.